So everybody's trying like aliens. I'm gonna be calling this video "I was in a holding cell for 5 hours, my story." Well, let's see, I don't remember why I had to be placed in a holding cell. Oh. My family is really mean and evil, and I think part of the reason why I have psychological problems is because my stepdad is really evil. And my dad is really mean to me too all the time. He's mean to me over simple things. And one time I got very angry at him. And he got a, restraining order on me. And threw me out, and I lived with my friend, in another part of Maryland. And I stayed with her, but her house was nasty, and she was living with her boyfriend. After about, 6 months of living there, I texted my dad and said that I wanted to come back home. Um, when I came back home, my dad did not lift the protective order. So I was living under his roof, and he didn't lift the protective order. And there was a moment when he was driving around with me, and me and my dad got into a car accident. So I got into a car accident with my dad, and he was put on a stretcher, and I visited him at the hospital. And a woman who was a cop said, "Are you Ryan?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Are you aware that your father has a protective order on you?" And I didn't realize it, but then when she said that, it struck me that he did, and he didn't lift it. And she said, "Well, you were under arrest for violating the protective order." So they put me in handcuffs and took me to a holding cell. They took my fingerprints. And things like that. Then they put me in a holding cell with this Hispanic guy who was a pathological liar. And I was in there with another black guy at first, I think. For those who know about Michael Phelps, the competitive swimmer, Phelps was born in Baltimore, Maryland. And for those who know about the rings that are tattooed on Michael Phelps, let me go look. I guess they're tattooed on his arm. The Hispanic guy said that he's the one who did the tattoos on Michael Phelps. But I know he was just lying to me. I had a conversation about the guy with my girlfriend. And things like that. When I was in there. It was boring being in the holding cell. I would ask when they planned on letting me out. And eventually they said that they would let me go. But I had to be in there for about 4 or 5 hours. Finally, my dad came to get me. After they did everything and went through the paperwork. And they just told me next time to make sure that the protective order is lifted. So then they lifted the protective order, and because he was my dad, they lifted it. So they let me out of the cell. I'm not a criminal or a dangerous person. So they let me out of the cell. Both my mom and dad have gotten protective orders on me in my life. With my mom, it's because my stepdad is very abusive. And my mom is very mean. I mean, she was when I was little. She didn't do anything about my stepdad's severe abuse. Or my stepdad would verbally abuse me. And my dad and my stepdad are part of the reason why I believe I have psychological problems. But finally, they let me out of jail. And I came back home and I was happy to be living with my dad. And me and him get along pretty well now. Alright, I'm going to be calling this video I was in a holding cell for 4 to 5 hours, my story.